All right, hi everyone. This is Ian from Planet Geo and Tree Plotter. I'm going to give an overview of the updates that we've been working on for the Tree Plotter Work Order Management, or WOM module. We've been working on this for several months, lots of meetings, getting good input from clients and such. And I just want to give an overview video. I'm not going to go through every possible workflow, but let's start off here with just a couple of slides and talk about the thought process that we went through. So just real quick, 1 second. There we go. Okay, so first thing was to really standardize the app and the module for consistency, including terminology. So for example, now there's no job term anymore. It's just work order. And really our goals was to make this easier to use, of course, for users, but also to train and to support. And what we decided was to come and look at every decision to make, whether it was going to be, generally speaking, good for 80% or more of our users for any decision that we had to make. We also wanted to limit the number of ways to create work and do various things, and included in that was to hide certain buttons and such. And ultimately, of course, to make this faster to use and a smoother workflow. So the updates here are outlined, and this is primarily what I'll go through is updates to the service request details form and the work order detail form. And with service requests, this included improving how you link a tree or other asset, do an inspection, and create work records from a service request. So kind of streamlining that process. Also, there's the ability now to track the comments, status changes, assigned to changes, and see those in a work order. So I'll demonstrate what I mean by that. And then with work orders, we really simplified the details form. So there's a lot less buttons and even some tabs that we've removed. And we updated the print and email user interface, as well as how to preview a work order. And lastly, there is an actual update to the layout for work orders. And as I said above, you can optionally choose to have a service request, the information that might have preceded the work order in a service request as part of the printed work order. So I'll show that. Down at the bottom, I'm not going to demonstrate this, but we have a default login role and set of permissions for contractors to make it really streamlined and turn off as many things as we can to make that a simpler user experience for contractors. So we can add that to existing apps or moving forward with new modules for WOM. We also have a lot of new reports and dashboard information for work orders and service requests. So I'm not going to demonstrate that as well, but those are good updates and ongoing as well. And then the last one is, again, reducing the number of ways to create work. So we've removed that from the data tables. All right, so with all that said, let me go to this sandbox or this trial test app. And we're going to share this so anybody can log in and you can add anything you want. It's just going to be temporary. But let's go ahead. I'll start showing some of the updates. So you'll see if I just click on a tree, that's what I have set in the layer. I can go to service request, and there's quite a few changes to the form. Once you've submitted it, there's 2 more tabs that will show up. So right now it just shows details and linked assets. I'm actually going to follow through with a different workflow, but I just wanted to show a few things. I'm not actually going to submit this. You can create a work order directly from here if you choose. You can also use this same address as above, so you can copy it down below. You can submit it, or you can click next, and that will take you to the linked assets. So the main thing I wanted to show here is that you'll see it already linked the tree because you clicked on that tree and started the service request from there. A couple of really nice things now is what this will do is to really hopefully streamline the process where you can submit this. You can go back into the tree details very quickly, so you don't have to separately go and switch the map layer and click on the tree. And you can also open the inspection form directly from here. So I'll come back to that in a minute because I'm going to use a different way to show you how to link assets. So let's go ahead. You can still create a service request with the request button or simply add it to the map. So let's go ahead. We don't have a service request here. I had several trees, and I'm just going to click here and put a new service request into the map like you've always been able to do. Let me just move this. You'll see it there in the background. Not sure what that is. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just pick something quickly here. Let's just say broken limb test. And it's received. We can also pick who it's assigned to, and these are just some examples. So maybe you're going to hand this off to an inspector. Set your priority, your due date, all those good things. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to the next step. So this is the linked assets, and again, it's a little bit different when you go this approach, but I'm going to use link, and you can do point or multiple points or polygon like you've always been able to. And I think I'll just do multiple points. So I'm going to say select. And let's go ahead and add this tree and that tree. So I've got two. I just click done selecting. So the same view as before, but in this case, I knew I was going to have more than one tree in the service request. So same thing, you can go directly to these forms. I'm not going to do that, but obviously that would be part of the workflow. What I will do is now, this is the tracking that I was mentioning. So anytime you change the, this sample has quite a few, but basically it tracks anytime the status has changed and anytime the assigned to has changed. But what I'll show you next is a really nice process to create work records before you, as part of creating the work order. So you started with a service request, you determine that you do the inspection or something like that, determine that work is needed, and then now we basically moved where this took place. Before you would create the job and then have to separately create work records. Now we hopefully streamline this to make it part of this process. So what I mean by that is I can say add, I can create a new work order, and what you'll see here is this other pop-up that says, do you want to create work records for the linked assets? So I'm going to go ahead and say yes, and what that'll do is I have two trees, and it will create, it actually allows you to use the mass update tool here. So I'm just going to pretend for this example that they have the same due date, both of these trees, and that we will, let's go ahead, I'm just going to put in something quick here, schedule this. So I can say continue, and it'll let me zoom to the work order. So I just said yes, go ahead and zoom to the work order in test. We could assign this to somebody new, so let's just say it was the pruning contractor. Put in a few more things here, doesn't really matter a whole lot. Just some really small kind of aesthetic changes to some of the pieces here. But what you'll notice is the form up top looks quite a bit different. If you have a service request, it will show the tab. And if not, then that will actually not be there. So if you start your work from just directly creating a work order, maybe you've created work records for a tree, or you just start with the work order, this part will be gone and will not show up. So that's kind of nice. We can go over to the work records tab and you can see the two that we created. So that's kind of nice. The idea again was start with the service request in that workflow, and as you create the work order, you can automatically, because the two trees are linked as assets, you can now automatically create those two work records. Another thing to show is the More button. So previously, there were several other buttons right here, and we decided to put those down below. So if you want to delete a work record, duplicate, unlink them from a work order, things like that. If the inventory fields, so let's say some information about the trees that you've linked has changed, maybe the DBH was updated, you can click Sync Work Records. This previously was called Refresh. Okay, the other thing is there's the tracking, and that's the same concept I said before. So tracking will show which user and on what day that they changed either the status of the service request, or in this case, status of the work order, or change the assigned to. So this information can then be optionally included in the work order. The closeout step hasn't changed, so I'm not going to show anything there. Advanced, really the only thing under advanced right now is the ability to duplicate an entire work order and the work records. So if you have a real similar job, you could do that. I'm going to go ahead and just finish up by showing the print and email. And this has updated quite a bit. So I don't need to email it to myself, but we'll print. So that this really changed quite a bit. And you have options here about what to include. So do you, if there was a service request and there was tracking information about whose hands it exchanged back and forth, you can include that or exclude that. So you could just turn this off, for example. I'll leave the other ones. Labels hasn't really changed, and there's also a preview button. I'll just skip that. It's pretty simple, but let's go ahead and say submit and print the new work order. So it's a real simple layout. That was our goal. If you have any custom fields in your work order process, they will show up here, so you can work with our support team on that. We only have the address now of where the work is. We have the 2 work records, work tasks here, just like before. Also a nice hyperlink. And this is the part I was talking about, where we can show the changes in who it's been assigned to and things like that. I didn't put in any notes, but that would show up here too. Other than that, really, yeah, shows the history of the service request. Again, that's optional. And then there's the map. So I think that pretty much covers everything that I wanted to show. Let's just see here. Yeah, not a whole lot else has really changed. I'm going to go ahead and close this, and let's go back to the tree information. So if you want to see that history, I can go to work orders or service request, or I can just go to details. And so now under the work order management, I can see the work order that was associated with that tree, and I can go to service requests and see the service request. So I think that covers everything. We will have more official videos on specific features and workflows that will be coming. And you know how to contact us to reach support. But hopefully this overview video is useful. And again, there are many new reports going into the hub as well that are work management related. Thanks for watching, and we'll stay in touch.